Imagine this. You walk into a listing and you see an Alexa dot on the countertop and you ask, Alexa, tell me about this house. She responds, Alexa, tell me about the schools. Alexa, tell me why these people are moving. Alexa, tell me about the restaurants. Imagine if those responses were either in your voice or Alexa's voice, and they were the answers that you wanted them to hear. And that device was sitting in the most beautiful part of the house where people were able to spend time and listen to those answers. That is what Glassdoor House Guide has put together and created. Now, this is going to do a couple of things. Number one, it's going to help you realize how you can differentiate yourself and lead with technology. Number one. Number two, it's going to give you leverage. And number three, this episode, as you learn about it, is going to wake you up to the reality that artificial intelligence is getting better and better, and you have to innovate beyond that. You have to add more value than just answering questions inside of a home, or you will not be relevant. You will be commoditizable. This is a great episode. I can't wait for you to listen to it and learn more about this amazing product. Enjoy. Welcome back to the Think Bigger Real Estate Show. I'm your host, Justin Stoddart. Alexa guided home tours. You're not going to believe this. I can't wait for you to listen to this episode. It's with the founder, Justin Cullifer. We're going to get to him here in just a second. Let me remind you that every time we bring a guest on the show, we ask them to give us something of value. That something of value lives inside of the Think Bigger Real Estate Facebook group. If you're not yet a member of that group, you're missing out on how to implement and apply the things that we're talking about. It might be entertaining. It might even spark some big thinking, some good ideas. But if you want to start to implement and apply these things, you need to become a member of the group. That will help you, again, put all this into action. Today's guest, again, Justin Cullifer from Glass House Guide. Justin, thank you for coming on the show today and really helping us to see what real estate is looking like in the future. You guys are helping develop that.
Absolutely. Well, thanks for having me today, Justin. I appreciate it. We could get into trouble having two Justins here, I suppose, right?
If there were a third person, we'd be a mess, but hopefully, yeah, hopefully we'll be all right here. Now, you're based out of Atlanta, Georgia. You guys have a team, strong team. You're the visionary that really had a background in what that allowed you to see the opportunity here of these Alexa guided home tours.
Yeah, absolutely. My background is in technology. Really, right out of high school, I went to work for a tech company. Now, albeit it was in customer service, I worked my way up through the ranks and then eventually moved into consulting as well for some of the largest and most recognized brands in the country. And my specialty is in product innovation and product design. And, I've been doing that for other companies for years now, really just over 20 years, come to think of it. And the idea for Glass House Guide came to me back in 2018 when we were searching for our most recent home to purchase, the one I'm sitting in now, thanks to the pandemic. And the idea came to me. And so I just quickly drafted it, leveraged some of my existing team that worked for me with my consulting firm, and also acquired some of the specialized talent that were required to build this on this new Alexa platform.
I don't know anybody who doesn't say the word Alexa in their house and they hear a little bing, right? I don't, even you and I were talking just a minute ago and we started talking about it and all of a sudden your Alexa bings, mine in the other room would have had it heard me. Yeah, it's really it's amazing how Amazon has really stepped into the homes of people around the world, right? Is that now this voice activated world in which we live is so commonplace. Maybe you have some statistics. I'd be curious to know how many people have really adopted Alexa and use it regularly. I know in my household, her name is said as often as anybody's.
Oh, I know. We were early adopters too. So as soon as those Amazon Echo Dots came out, I went out and bought enough to put one in every room in the house. And they're just phenomenal products. And what's really great is the reason we built Glass House Guide for Alexa is that Alexa is more popular than the other platforms right now. Latest estimates that I've seen say that there are upwards of 100 million Amazon Alexa devices just in the US. So that, you are to the point, just like you say, Justin, of going into friends and family's houses and you're going to see one of these speakers. Now, a lot of times people just ask it to play music and that's all well and good. But now we're starting to see other use cases emerge that make a lot of sense from a personal and a business perspective.
Let me think about that. There's 330 million people that live in the US. Did you say 100 million households or 100 million devices?
Devices. Now, at least 5 of those are accounted for in my house alone.
And mine as well.
Exactly. But the spread is huge. You even see, like on Black Friday sales, Amazon has these smart speakers that can just provide so much information for $25 on Black Friday. So there's not really a compelling reason to not have one in your house at this point.
Yeah, it's crazy. All right, so let's talk now. Here we are living in the middle of a global pandemic where people are suggested to not be close, right? Especially without special safety precautions. You probably didn't realize when you were developing this product how hyper helpful it would be at a time like this, right? Talk to us a little bit about what Glassdoor Guide does, and then we can even kind of talk about how that helps. Obviously, I think people will see the obvious correlation as to how this helps them get eyeballs on more properties, even during a pandemic.
Well, that's exactly right. No one saw the pandemic coming. No one budgeted for the pandemic, right? It's something that really surprised all of us. And now suddenly people who never used FaceTime and Zoom are now extremely proficient in it. So it's like with any technology in any situation, if you're kind of forced into it, you begin to adapt it. So with Glasshouse Guide, we originally started our service as enabling an Alexa device inside of a real estate listing to greet buyers and answer their questions. As soon as the pandemic started to surface in that January timeframe, we all looked at each other and said, "Oh, we've got to up our game." And so we very quickly created our home tour service. I know it's not a terribly original name, but the way we apply it really is original. And that allows anyone with a smart speaker, an Alexa smart speaker, to ask about a real estate agent's listing and get their questions answered and to hear more information about that listing. All of that color that they might have heard if they had gone to an open house, but like you say, no one's going to open houses right now. Or if they are suiting up and putting on all the PPE that they can to do it safely. So we want to try and replicate as much of that experience as possible.
So what it sounds like now, I know that this also interfaces with, or you can put a link inside MLS to where people can say, "Alexa, tell me about 220 Main Street in Wilsonville, Oregon," right? For example. And it will tell them, as long as you've used Glassdoor app to put that recording there, then people can ask Alexa, "Open Glassdoor Guide."
House Guide. Yeah.
House Guide. And then they can ask about a specific property, even if they're not in the property, correct?
That's right. So
Okay.
if you're inside of the property, we know which property you're in. So we serve up the right information about that house at 202 Main Street. If you're looking at some of the many social media ads that agents post on Instagram and Facebook and you'll see prompts from those agents that say, "Ask Alexa to open home tour by Glasshouse Guide," and provide it this unique number. And it's really as simple as that. You'll say, "Alexa, open home tour by Glasshouse Guide," and you'll state a 6-digit number. And from there, you're having a conversation. It's not very rigid. What we've designed is not something like when you call the bank and you have to press 1 for your balance and 2 to make a payment. It's more along the lines of having a real conversation, using all of Amazon's natural language processing to make it feel like you're talking to a friend.
So I walk into the house and I see this guide. It walks me through to where now I'm having a conversation with Alexa. You mentioned something that I thought was interesting, that's strategically placed in the house where and why?
We're hearing from our agents who are subscribers that they are placing their Alexa device in, forgive the term, but the money shot of the house. So if you have a recently renovated kitchen in your listing and you really want people to see that, notice that, spend time there, you might place the Alexa device there and prompt people to use Glasshouse Guide while they're in the kitchen. In a similar thread, one of our agents told me not too long ago, he was selling a house that had a beautiful lakefront view, and he wanted to maximize the amount of time that people fell in love with that view of the lake. So sure enough, he put the Alexa device where that view was optimized, and people are standing there getting their questions answered. And meanwhile, they're looking around. They're saying, what makes this a great home and what makes this a worthwhile purchase?
It's brilliant. It's brilliant. Rather than like wandering down in the basement bedroom and like having your questions answered down there, right?
Right.
Now
Or if you're like me and you pick up the paper flyers when you're looking at real estate, you glance at it and then it gets folded in half, stuffed in your pocket, and you move on and you guide yourself through the home.
Yeah, great point. Okay, so let's talk through this conversation. Okay, let's pretend that you're Alexa, right? So I'm standing there in looking at this beautifully remodeled kitchen, beautiful mountain view out the back, and I'm saying, so once I've opened the app, right, and we're now, Alexa and I are having a conversation about this particular home, I can say, like I wonder what there is to eat around here, or what would be a question to find out kind of what the eatery scene would be?
Well, exactly. We've tried to anticipate as many ways as possible that people can ask questions that are commonly asked. Now, we don't get into a lot of the binary information that you would see on Zillow, for example, like number of beds, number of baths, square footage. That's table stakes information that people already know by the time they're looking at the listing or while they're reading about it online. But we get into the character of the home. So you can ask, why are they selling? What's the current asking price? Is there anywhere to eat around here? I like to ride a bike. Where can I ride a bike around here? So one of the people on our teams is an English major that's come in that's proven to be very advantageous for us, because she's helping us think through all of the ways people might ask about these key pieces of information that really make a home feel like a home.
So it could be everything from, I wonder what there is to eat around here. What's the walking score? I wonder how the schools are. Like, what are just some of the different categories that you guys have anticipated that people are going to be asking about?
Oh goodness, we've got additional details. People always want to know what's a layer deeper. Schools, parks, restaurants, price, why are they selling? Shopping, that's a big one. Is there a coffee shop nearby? Is there a home improvement store nearby? Because you never know, you might need to run to Lowe's or Home Depot or Ace for whatever you need to fix that day. So we tried to anticipate we're right at 12 categories of information. We're adding to that list constantly. So as feedback comes in from our agents, when they have something unique. So for example, we're about to launch one that's more country club, gated community focused, where you live in one of these superb communities that have all of the amenities. We want people to be able to ask about the membership and the amenities. So we're listening, and being a small company, we can adapt and add those into the system pretty darn easily.
And it's just a category. An agent doesn't have to fill out all of those categories. It's just places where they can go in and they can record answers to that, right?
That's right. Well, the agent's in full control of Alexa's responses to those questions. So if someone asks about restaurants and the agent wants to make sure that people know about Vinny's Pizzeria, then they can place Vinny's Pizzeria as part of the answer that Alexa will read. And it can read it in Alexa's voice if you want to keep it very neutral, or the agent can even upload an audio file of them in their own voice answering the exact same question.
Wow, interesting. They can actually start to recognize the agent's voice. Brilliant. It's interesting because, again, having worked with a title company for a number of years, people will ask for what's called a home book, right? And a home book is essentially that information that sits on the kitchen counter. Not nearly as interesting as what you just described. And I had one client push back and say the restaurants that were pulled up were all like the fast food joints, right? So it was like Dairy Queen and like McDonald's, and it was like, well, there's some other ones. So it's interesting how you can actually and so we did the same thing within that home book as you guys are able to do, right? Is like let's squash some of those that people aren't going to care about. And let's bring up some of the ones that are maybe less well known, kind of put those at the forefront that are actually a selling point, right? That's the key, is actually like what's actually going to be a selling point, and we can construct that response from Alexa to be what would actually be the selling point.
That's exactly right. And I think the modern interpretation of that could be with these Echo Dots being so low cost, what a nice housewarming gift to leave behind for the new owner of the home. Why not leave it there? And while they're unpacking moving boxes and looking for a place to order a pizza or listen to some music while they're unpacking, they'll already have that smart speaker there ready to help them.
Yeah. Let's talk about benefits to the agents. Obviously, you've spoken obviously about being careful and considerate, safe in a global pandemic, right? That's one. Number two, just leading through technology, right? Being the agent that is embracing this stuff early, right? I think that's a big deal. Leverage, right? I see you've got people that want to see homes on, different sides of town. You've got different listings in different places that you could show them. Obviously, the more agents that use this, the more ability you have to be in more places than one. I know it's got a lead generation capture. Talk to us about that.
Absolutely. So from a lead gen perspective, one of those questions that people can ask is, how do I get in touch with an agent? Can I speak to someone about this home? So imagine that they're interacting with their own speaker at home and they're reading about your listing on Zillow or on social media. they've reached that point. They're ready to go see it. They want more information than even Alexa can provide. What we are going to respond and what Alexa responds is, great, I can connect you with an agent. What's your phone number? We take down that phone number. We already know their name at that point, and we immediately send that as an email to the agent so that they can promptly follow up with that prospective buyer.
Now, you had said that the recording can be in the voice of the agent or in Alexa's voice, right? Did I understand that correctly?
That's exactly right.
Okay, so your responses could very well have some of your personality, some of your flair. It doesn't sound like that kind of, kind of humanized, but kind of robotic voice of Alexa, right? It actually sounds like you're having a conversation with a real human being.
That's right. And that's very important too. If you're going to be in a major transaction, potentially the biggest purchase of your life, you want to make sure that you're comfortable working with the people that are involved in giving you this information. So I love it when I see agents use that recording feature that we've built in with their own voice. But I also respect the idea of using Alexa's voice as well, just to keep it very neutral. It's easy to understand by design. It has Amazon behind it from that perspective. They've made sure that it sounds very nice, very neutral, very friendly out of the box. So I can see advantages to doing either one.
Yeah. Powerful stuff. Okay. What else are we missing? What are any other benefits that we might've missed that really is a benefit to the agent for adopting a technology like this?
Yeah. One of the biggest advantages to this is the analytics that we capture. Now, by law, and also just being good ethical people, we do not record conversations at all with this product. That we will never do that. And we also never sell data to third parties. What we do capture are the just binary information of what have people asked about. We say that Justin has asked about restaurants and has asked about shopping. Great. Now we know that about Justin. And when we go have a conversation with him later, we're already well informed of what is top of mind for Justin. So in that same thread, all of that information is surfaced inside of our system. When agents log in, they can see listing by listing all of the questions that people are asking, who asked those questions, and on what date and time they asked that question, in addition to receiving leads if an outcome leads to a lead. So there's a lot of data there that can be very insightful and paint a really interesting picture around the character of each listing.
One of the most valuable things that listing agents can provide to their sellers is, feedback. And sometimes,
Yes.
they'll ask feedback from a buyer's agent of like, hey, what did your clients think? Oh, it's good. Or they don't respond, right? But now they ask this question, this question, this question. In fact, of the 10 people that have come through the house, they've all asked questions on this. Great. Boy, now we know what people care about, what people like, what they're interested in, what they're not. Stuff that we thought they'd be asking about, nobody is,
That's exactly right. And if you live in an area, let's say where personal wellness is top of mind for buyers in that community, so they're out biking and running and jogging, and if people keep asking about the parks and the trails in the area, wouldn't it be great to maybe replace one of the photos in your listing that just shows the laundry room with a picture of the neighborhood park, right? So you can start to tailor the messaging and tailor the imagery that you're putting out there about your listing and hopefully attract a buyer that much faster.
Yeah, great point. You can really, like you said, position your marketing to be highlight those things that people actually are caring about. Is this cost prohibitive? I mean, do you have to be like an uber successful agent? This is only kind of for those that talk to us a little bit about, I'm sure the pricing maybe varies based on quantity and volume. I don't know, anything that you can share with us about pricing so people can get their head around it and not exclude themselves before they learn more.
No, our pricing is very competitive. We did a lot of research to see what are agents already paying for systems that they leverage, right? We are a tool that is how would you put it? A yes and tool. We're not saying get rid of any tools that you're already using. We want you to add us to your existing toolkit as another way to differentiate yourself when you're trying to get the listing in the first place, to say, oh yes, I also do email and web ads and social media. And I also do this too, because I promise every seller wants you as an agent to use as many tools as possible to get a buyer as quickly as possible. That's a universal truth. I would be hard pressed to find anyone who doesn't want a buyer as fast as possible. So from the pricing perspective, we start at $20 per month. And $20 per month enables our agents to have up to 5 active listings.
Wow.
So stated a different way, that's $4 per listing per month, which is less than what you and I will spend on lunch today.
Crazy. That is way more affordable than I was expecting you to say, Justin.
Yeah,
$20.
what's amazing about leveraging high tech, that's a point I would like to make. High tech doesn't mean expensive. Now, back in the day when the first VCR came out or when the first home theater came out, that technology was very rare and very expensive for the time. With services like Alexa, the infrastructure is relatively low cost. We're recouping costs for just engineering and building something that's original and now patent pending. So the cost to deliver high tech to people is coming down exponentially. So no, we're $20 to start. There's one additional plan that's $50 a month, and that's for an unlimited number of listings for that particular agent. So we just want to be price competitive and gain adoption for what we believe is a very powerful marketing tool.
It's still so affordable, even at the unlimited. It's so affordable. And really, here's some benefits that I see from this. Keep in mind, everybody, I don't have a horse in this race, right? Like I am not, even though Justin and I share the same name, I'm really learning about this with you. I wanted to highlight this because I believe that there was some value for you, but now I'm seeing tremendous value. Here's some things that I'm seeing as an agent that all agents should be taking a look at. Number one, we're in a very competitive listing environment. Like you need to stand out and to be able to say that this extra data you're going to be able to gather from everybody that comes through the home, right? That the people that come through the home are going to have this experience. They're going to be staying in that money shot, right, room to where the offers that come in have that in mind, as opposed to wandering around the house looking at who knows what. Like just the value that you're going to get in having that conversation with your potential clients, in my opinion, will set you apart from other people, right? Everybody knows Alexa. I don't think, at least in my area, I haven't heard of people using this, and I could be wrong. I'd be interested to hear, feedback from the audience. But this is a separator, folks. This is a way for you to get more listings at $20 a month. Are you kidding me? Crazy. Such a great idea. And then the last point I want to make is that I hope this is waking everybody up to the fact that you are not going to continue to be a well-paid real estate agent if your only value proposition is opening a door and answering a series of 4 or 5 questions. Alexa just took your job. Now, right. Justin's job is not to go out there. It's to add on to the value that agents bring. And a good agent will see this, and as he said, like add it to his repertoire. But if this is the only value that you're offering is doing what Alexa just learned how to do, guess what? Like there's not going to be a long-term place for you that's well paid in this industry. So take this technology, add knowledge, right? Add all these tech tools in order to give yourself the ability to then harness it and not be harnessed by it. And I think that's key. So again, this is a great wake-up call for every agent out there that's out showing homes, and also a great wake-up call on how you can really separate yourself and differentiate yourself. So this has been truly insightful, Justin. Are there any last things that we should know about your product and service that maybe we haven't touched on?
I love the last point that you made, Justin, from the perspective of, as a buyer, I'm now on I'd have to count. I think this is our 4th home that I've purchased. I want my agent to be an advocate for me. I want them to be a great consultant when it comes to making a purchase decision. I don't expect my agent to answer questions like they're on Jeopardy, right? So leave a lot of those Jeopardy questions to us from an Alexa and Glasshouse guide perspective. I think that being able to free yourself up to be a better advocate, to be a better consultant is a huge deal. And leveraging low-cost solutions like what we've created can help you do that. So I would say that adopt these technologies. Don't just stick to the suite of technologies provided by your brokerage. If you do, you're going to look like every other agent in your same brokerage. If you're all singing from the same sheet of music, go ahead and add your special twist to that marketing program by adopting new services like ours.
Yeah, well said. It's you become you become a commodity, right? When you do what everyone else does, you're easy to replace. Therefore, the only thing to differentiate on is price, and that's not where you want to be, right? So, so insightful. Justin, our last question, which is a signature question of the show, I ask everybody this because my mission and my passion is to wake people up to the potential inside of them, to help them to think bigger and to live in pursuit of that potential so they can live, give, and serve abundantly. That's what I'm about. That's what the show is about. So I ask every guest that comes on here this question, which is, what do you do? Now, keep in mind, you are a big thinker. That's why you're on the Think Bigger Real Estate Show. What does a guy like you do to continue to be a big thinker, to continue to expand your own personal possibilities? What do you do to continue to grow? That's the core of again, what I'm asking.
You know, I have a lot of empathy baked into me just as a person. So I am constantly listening and paying attention, even to things that seem like they just would not be relevant to me. So if I encounter, let's say, a heart surgeon, I promise you don't want me to get near hearts, but I'm going to listen to what makes that person interesting. What are some of their struggles? What are things that I can empathize with about that person and maybe generate ideas on how to better serve that person, be it through technology or a suggestion, or maybe they just want an ear to listen. Either way, I believe in empathy. I believe in the power of empathy and just listening to others and trying to walk a mile in their shoes in order to generate ideas on how you might help that person be that much more successful.
Boy, that's a unique answer that I've never gotten, and probably one of the more relevant ones for the world in which we're living today. There's a lot going on in our world, and I think empathy would solve a lot of it for all of us. And I think that's a deep and inspiring answer. I want to thank you for that. And I want to thank you for what you've built and what you're building and where you're taking this industry and where you're helping agents. Again, if they look at this correctly, don't look at it as a threat unless you're not growing. If you're growing, this will be a powerful tool for you and a way to differentiate yourself, not a way for you to be replaced. So been a total pleasure having you on, Justin. I'm excited to see the continual rise of what you guys are doing. It's powerful. It's exciting. And I'm excited to walk through a home myself and have the, your app open up and me to actually experience it firsthand. It's exciting. So thank you so much for all that you've contributed today with us.
Thank you for having me today. It was a great conversation.
Yeah, likewise. And I want to remind everybody that's listening today, again, that we will have help on how to implement more details on how you can get access to this inside the Think Bigger Real Estate Group. Be sure and join, be involved in there. Again, my mission solely is to help you to think bigger. And my final request of everybody listening today are these 3 simple words, and they are go think bigger. Thank you, Justin, for helping us do that today.
Absolutely. Have a great day.
You too, my friend.